Salut! Today we're going to go over lesson 14. In this lesson we will learn different ways to translate the word since and talk about how long you've been doing something. For example, I have been teaching French for 8 years or since 2014. We will also practice our immediate past with some reflexive verbs. But first, I'd like to thank everyone who's been liking our videos and subscribing to our channel. We can see month after month our statistic going up and it's very heartwarming. So merci beaucoup. And if you haven't yet, please don't hesitate to click on the subscribe button below and activate the notification by clicking on the bell. This will allow you to know when we post the next lesson, but also when we post extra videos like our series on French humor, or also announcements about our church celebrations. But let's get back to our lesson. First, let's talk about the word since in English. In English, the word since by itself can only be used with what we will refer to as a point in time. A point in time can be a day, a month, a year, or any date really. What it can't be is what we will refer to as a length of time. So let me show you some examples to make this clearer. A point in time can be Monday, 2022, or last fall. In English, that's when you use since. For example, I've been teaching French since 2014. Or, you've been a student since last fall. As I said, you cannot use the word since in English with a length of time. A length of time can be a minute, 2 months, or 50 years. The only thing that matters is that it has some length to it. That's when in English you use the word for. For example, I've been teaching French for 8 years, or you've been a student for 5 months. Now, there's actually a way to use a length of time in English with the word since, which is to reverse the sentence, like it's been a minute since I've been talking. But let's forget about this for now because it's not very instinctive and it doesn't really apply to our lesson. What I want you to focus on is that first, in French, you are in luck because you can use the word depuis both for the English word since and for the English word for with the length of time. This won't happen often where the French is easier, so let's enjoy it. The only difference is that in French, we use the present tense rather than the present perfect you use in English when something is still happening. What that means is that our sentence, I've been teaching French since 2014, will be in French, I teach French since 2014, using the word depuis for since. Now, that being said, can you guess how to make this sentence? It will be J'enseigne le français depuis 2014. Now, as I said before, you can actually use the word depuis also for the English word for with the length of time. Just remember that we need to use the present if it's still happening. So, can you try to translate our example, I've been teaching French for 8 years? Remember, I said you can also use the word depuis in French. So it will be the same sentence with 8 years rather than 2014. Alright, I'll give you 3 seconds. 2, 3. It will be J'enseigne le français depuis 8 ans. Now, using the word depuis is one way of doing that, but there is another way to talk about something that started in the past and is still happening with the length of time. The only thing is, this way only works with the length of time, so no day or date here, just a minute, a month, 10 years, etc. The two ways are to start your sentence either with il y a or ça fait, and then you add the length of time, then you add the word que, and then you add a sentence in the present of something you've been doing for that length of time. What this way roughly translates to word for word in English would be there is, any length of time, that I do something. Let's use the same example we used before. I've been teaching French for 8 years. So it can also be said using this construction. Il y a 10 ans que j'enseigne le français. Or, ça fait 10 ans que j'enseigne le français. Now, whichever way you prefer doesn't really matter. Just keep in mind that only depuis works with both a length of time and a point in time. Also, I have to explain how to use these into a question, because you may want to ask someone how long they've been doing something for. Here, it's the same thing. Depuis will work with both asking about a length of time and a point in time. You will just say either depuis quand est-ce que, followed by the sentence in the present about something someone has been doing, or depuis combien de temps est-ce que, followed by the sentence in the present about something someone has been doing. Now, when talking, a lot of people may just remove the est-ce que part, but let's keep it so we have the proper sentence. In theory, if you said depuis quand, someone should answer with a point in time, and if you said depuis combien de temps, someone should answer with a length of time. But in truth, not many people pay attention, and they will answer whatever they want. But that's the rule. So, let's ask myself how long I've been teaching French for. And we're going to use both ways. First, depuis quand est-ce que tu enseignes le français? In theory, I should answer here, j'enseigne le français depuis 2014, using a point in time, 2014. But if I ask the other way, which is depuis combien de temps est-ce que tu enseignes le français? I should answer, j'enseigne le français depuis 8 ans, using a length of time. Alright, I hope this was somewhat clear. But the good news is, if it wasn't, you can download the class notes right below if you haven't already, and it should be easier to understand if my oral explanation was too fast. Also, while you're down there, remember to like this video if you enjoy it. Every like counts, and the more likes and comments we get, the more our videos get suggested to other people. Talking about comments, do you think you can tell me in the comments for how long you've been doing something? Maybe how long you've been learning French for, or dancing or singing. Or ask me anything in French with the length of time. Do you know that I play the guitar and I sing? Well, if you want to know for how long I've been doing that, you'll have to ask me in the comments in French, and I'll answer right there. Anyhow, let's get back to our lesson. For our final point, in lesson 12, we have seen the immediate past. The immediate past is when we use the verb venir in the present, then the preposition de, and any infinitive. It translates in English to having just done something. For example, je viens de manger means I just ate. If you're not sure about how to make these sentences, please go back to lesson 12 to remember how to use this tense. In any case, what matters in today's lesson is how to use this immediate past with reflexive verbs. We just saw reflexive verbs last week, so you should remember that reflexive verbs are verbs where the subject does the action upon themselves. For example, using the verb se laver, which means to wash oneself, I can say je me lave, which means I wash myself. I can say also tu te laves, which means you wash yourself, and etc. Now, when we use one of these verbs with the immediate past, even though we still use the infinitive after the preposition de, you actually need to change the pronoun depending on the person. Just like if you were conjugating that verb. The reason is that even though we only conjugate the verb venir in the present for the immediate past, the action is still done upon the subject. Therefore, the pronoun, reflexive pronoun, needs to match with the subject. The pronoun se that we use in the infinitive of reflexive verbs like se laver, se lever, se brosser les dents, etc. is either the infinitive or the third person of the singular or the plural. So to say I just washed myself, we will still need to say je viens de me laver. and not je viens de se laver. If you used se here, we wouldn't know whom you washed. To make this clearer, let's conjugate the verb se laver using the immediate past. Repeat after me while paying attention to the reflexive pronouns. Je viens de me laver. Tu viens de te laver. Il vient de se laver. Nous venons de nous laver. Vous venez de vous laver. Ils viennent de se laver. Alright, can you see the pattern? The verb laver stays in the infinitive, while the verb venir is conjugated in the present. However, the pronoun that is part of the verb se laver still changes depending on the subject. In English it's the same. You would say I just washed myself, you just washed yourself, etc. But just remember that some reflexive verbs in French do not translate with myself, yourself, etc. in English. Se lever, for example, just means to get up. This is why you would say je viens de me lever for I just got up, and tu viens de te lever for you just got up, etc. With some practice, you'll get used to it. So remember to do your exercises, to read the explanation in the book, and to do the exercises in there as well. Alright, we're done. I hope this lesson wasn't too much to cope with. Thankfully, you can slow me down and make me sound drunk if you need to. Just click the little wheel on the bottom right of the video and change the playback speed. That's one of the benefits of watching these recap videos on YouTube, I guess. And also, you can always ask me any questions about the class in the comments below, and I'll get back to you there. In the meantime, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you on the next one. Au revoir.